Good evening, everyone. It's Julia from the Paper and Ink Boutique, and I'm here at my home studio ready for Monday Night Live. Thank you so much for joining me. Hello to everyone joining me. Excuse me. Hello to everyone joining me on Facebook, or maybe you're joining me from our inspiration group. Hello, hi there. And maybe you're joining me on YouTube. So thank you so much. It's good seeing you. Thank you. Lots of people joining. Thank you so much for joining. If you are wondering if you can watch these back, yes, you can. If you go to YouTube and search the Paper and Ink Boutique, you'll find our page. All of my Monday nights are listed there, so you can find them all on there, and you can rewatch all of them at any time. Now, if you tuned in a couple of weeks ago, which was when my last Monday Night Live was, we did a Monday Night Live surprise. And Heather, one of our craft consultants, she's also our assistant manager, she gave me a surprise bag full of product that I needed to create with. And it was fun. It was really fun. We created some very different projects, Heather and I, but that's why we're doing it. I also wanted to do Monday Night Live to show that you can create something and kind of create it on the fly. You don't need to put a lot of thought into it. Sometimes it's just fun to create organically. So that is how Monday Night Live surprise started. Monday Night Live will be back, Monday Night Live surprise will be back the first Monday in November, and I am looking forward to a surprise bag of goodies from Cassandra. So tune in for that. But tonight we're starting something a little bit new. For a while, I have been doing techniques on tags, which has been great. Hi, everyone. Hello, getting lots of highs. Hello, welcome. So tonight we're doing something a little bit different, mostly because I think I have a short attention span and I get bored very easily. So techniques on tag for me has kind of run its course. I'm like, I need to do something new. So tonight we're starting a series of classes where tonight we're going to create backgrounds. I'm just going to share with you kind of my technique on creating backgrounds. And I do create a lot of backgrounds. I don't have a lot of time to do projects from beginning to end in one sitting. So sometimes I sit down, sometimes I just want to get my hands messy. So I sit down, I grab up my inks and my sprays and my paints, and I just sit and I create. And sometimes that's all I need for my mental health. I just need to create something without necessarily an end project in mind. Sometimes I just need to sit and play with the products that I have. So tonight I'm going to show you kind of my way of creating some backgrounds. And tonight we're done these backgrounds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, create your backgrounds, maybe pick out 2 or 3 of your favorites and bring them back next week. Because next week we're going to take those backgrounds or some of those backgrounds and we're going to do something else on top of them. So it's going to be a series of classes where we take the backgrounds from tonight. We're going to take a few next week. We're going to add something to them. We're going to add another layer. And then the week after, we're going to add another layer. And then when I feel like we've added enough layers, then we'll finish a project. That could be a tag. It could be a card. It could be just something that we're going to use in an art journal. Or what you might want to do is what you could do is take them right on the back, some of the techniques, and then at the end of the 2 or 3 or 4 weeks or however long this takes, then you'll have a finished tag. You can add it to your tag ring, right? And then you can write, oh, we created this in episode 26, 27, 28, and we did this. And then you can go back and rewatch them and recreate them using different colors, different products. So that's kind of what I'm looking at doing, is just kind of sharing with you some of my techniques that I use to create my art journal pages, cards, scrapbooking pages. I use all of these techniques kind of across a lot of different paper techniques. So it doesn't matter if you're just a scrapbooker, just a card maker, maybe you just like doing your art journal, or maybe you just like mixed media. Hopefully 1 or 2 of these techniques you will take away and be able to use in your projects. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to switch over to my overhead camera. So just give me 1 second. There we go. The overhead camera is ready to go. So if you tuned into my Saturday morning live on Saturday, you would have seen me kind of show these. These are 8 of the backgrounds that I created probably about 10 days ago. I was just needing to be crafty, just needed to get a little bit of ink on my hands, sat down and created these just for the sake of having a few backgrounds. So how I did this is I used 2 12 by 12 pieces of paper. This is the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper. So we're going to be using the foundations paper. Now, if you don't have the foundations paper, just have some heavy mixed media paper on hand. It could be 8.5 by 11. There's lots of those from Ranger and Tim Holtz, and also Dina Wakley. Diane Reevely also has some media paper. So just get a heavyweight paper. This paper is 140 pounds. No, 130 pounds. I'm sorry. And I love it. It's my favorite. I use it all the time. Like I said, it's the Vicki Boutin's Foundations paper. It looks like this. We sell it in the store. I love it. It's my favorite. And I was right. It is 140 pounds. I should really trust my memory. So this is 140 pound mixed media paper, and it can take a lot of mixed media abuse. So if you don't have that and you like mixed media, try it out because it is one of my favorites. Okay, so like I said, these are a few of my samples. So these 4 were made from one sheet. So the background, you can tell on all 4 of these is blue. That's what I started with. The base of this is a blue background. That's how I started. And then I cut it into 4 pieces and then did the rest. Okay, these 4 were also made from the same background. And you can see that it has a very different background. This has lots of reds and pinks and yellows and oranges in it. Okay, so I did create the 2 backgrounds. So that's what we're going to do first, is create 2 12 by 12 backgrounds. Then I'm going to cut them up into 4 pieces. So I'll get 4 6 by 6 out of them. And then we're going to continue on with the layering. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside for right now. There we go. I'm going to start with 1 12 by 12 piece of paper. Now, what I did, and I think I put this in the instructions, if you have your distress watercolor crayon pencils, that's what these are. I have them all in a distressed storage tin. I didn't want them in the 3 separate. I wanted them in one. I didn't care if I was mixing the sets, don't care. So I mixed them up in here. So the first background I'm going to create using the crayons. Now, if you don't have the crayons, don't be mad, don't be sad, don't be upset. Grab out something else. Something else that will work is infusions. Any sort of pigment powder will work. Now, if you don't have any of these, again, don't stress. We're not about getting stressed during Monday Night Live. No, that's not what we're for. We are looking at creating beautiful things. So please, deep breath, let's relax and let's just create. So if you don't have exactly what I have, there are other ways of creating backgrounds. You can do one of Tim Holtz's favorite is the dip and the smush and dip. The smush and dip, where you put your inks on your pad, you dip your paper, you make a beautiful background. That is also another way. I'm just going to straighten my camera out here so I'm not all wonky. Okay, there we go. Am I still wonky? I feel like I'm still a little wonky. There we go. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, my 12 by 12 sheet of mixed media paper. Now, you might be using something smaller, and that's fine. I'm going to take my this is my Woodware Easy Mist. I absolutely love it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump this a couple of times, and it's just going to keep spraying. And I love that because it gives me a really fine mist. Okay. There we go. Lightly misted my entire paper. Now I'm going to take some of my, let me see what I've got here. I'm going to take one of my crayons. I haven't actually, not crayons, pencils. I haven't actually used these like a regular person. What I've been doing is I've been using an X-Acto knife, and I've just been coming and doing this on my background. So I'm just taking some little shavings off of my pencils. Now, what's also really great about this is I get a really nice point on these by doing this. Okay, so there you go. You can see I'm just going over my entire piece of paper. Perfect, love it. Now, because the paper is wet, those shavings from my crayon, from my pencil, is now starting to kind of disperse into the water. So I've done that one. Let me take another color. Oh, that first color I used, just in case you're following along, Salty Ocean. Next, I'm going to take a shaded lilac. Again, just going to take my X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to take some shavings. Now, if you're in our inspiration group, you may have seen Cassandra post that she used one of the alcohol ink palettes. And she is using that, and she's taking her shavings and putting them in there, adding a bit of water, and then it dries up. And we're here in Alberta where it's very dry, and it's going to dry up. And then she is going to have a to-go paint palette, which I absolutely love. Okay, so I've got a couple of colors on there, Shaded Lilac and Salty Ocean. And my paper is still wet. I can see the colors are starting to kind of spread out, but I am going to add a little bit more water. Not a lot, just going to come along. I don't want things to like get soaking wet. Love it. Love that so much. I'm going to see if I can hold this up so you can see what that's doing. So see there? That's absolutely gorgeous. I'm loving it. I am going to add a bit of yellow. I always like adding and I'm just going to, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to work from one corner down to the next. Now, if you're using an X-Acto knife with your pencil, don't forget to keep turning your pencil because you don't want to shave down one side. You want to keep turning it so you get like an even shave down there. Okay, there we go. I'm loving what I'm seeing here. Loving. Maybe you can't see that. What I'm going to do, let me just give me a moment. I'm just going to lower my camera just a smidge so you can maybe get a closer look there. There we go. Loving what's happening. I am going to spray this area with a bit more water. And things have gone wonky again. What's happening? There we go. All right, bit more water. Oh, that's perfect. I am loving what's happening here. Okay, I'm going to stop at the 3 colors. Now, I love what is happening here with the yellow and the blue. The colors are mixing, and I'm getting a green. Love that. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, I'm going to create my other background. So I'm just going to set this one aside. I'm going to come back and dry it in a minute, but I'm just going to set it off to the side. And I'm going to bring in my other one. Now, this one, I'm not going to use the pencils. I'm going to use the infusions. Oops. Now, maybe you don't have infusions. Maybe you have something different. Maybe you have got like color sparks, color bursts, brush-os. They're all basically the same. The one thing I like about the infusions is they're a mix of colors, and it's got a walnut stained base. So there's always a little bit of brown in there, which I love. Okay, so the last one I did, greens, blues, yellows, purple. So I'm going to go to the other side of the color wheel, and I'm going to use something like a terracotta. Let me just look here. Terracotta. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to use all 3. Terracotta, Orange County, and Limoncello. I always add a yellow. I just find yellow is a great, I don't know, it's just a great color to have. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my spray bottle. I'm going to spray my entire sheet of paper. I love this spray bottle because I get a very fine mist. Okay, so let's go in. I'm going to start actually with the limoncello this time. The paper is starting to curl up on me, but that's all right. Once we dry it, it'll... There we go. Let me put that back on there. Let's do terracotta. That's lovely. I don't even think I'm going to touch the Orange County because I think it'll be a little bit too much. Don't want it to overwhelm it. Okay, so I'm liking this. I'm going to take my spray bottle again. I actually got a little bit too much there. So I want to just kind of spread that out a little bit. Just going to add a little bit more water. And you can see what happens when you add your water. Those colors just come alive. Okay, that is great. Now, you might remember me saying how this has a walnut pigment in it. So if I was to lift this up, you can probably see the brown in there. That is that walnut pigment. Sorry, I've got a lot of water in that one space, so I'm just going to kind of let it kind of move around there a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit wet for a while because I want that brown pigment to have a chance to kind of burst forth. Now, I just saw up here. Actually, I'm going to use Orange County. I'm going to do Orange County maybe along the top. Now, because I'm going to be cutting this down into 4, I'm not really caring if every corner of this looks exactly the same. Because once we cut it down, I'm going to be creating different backgrounds anyhow. Ooh, see that? Look at that. What's happening there with the Orange County. I'm just going to use a bit more water. Oh, that's gorgeous. Oh, I'm loving it. Love, love, love. Okay, so I'm going to bring back in this one. This one I'm going to set aside for a moment. Let's set that aside. Bring this in. I'm going to dry this now, so just give me a moment. I can see your questions, so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I can see them and I can answer them as best as I can. Okay, I'm going to set this one aside. And now I'm going to bring in this one. Oh, these are from, oops, that's the wrong one. These are PaperArtsy. Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, these are PaperArtsy and they're absolutely amazing. I love them. What medium am I using? This one was made using shavings of the Distress Watercolor pencils. And by shavings means I took an X-Acto knife and I had sprayed my I sprayed my paper with a light misting of water, and then I used shavings from the Distress Watercolor pencils to get this look. The other one is using infusions. I'm just going to finish drying this and I'll come back and talk about the infusions. So this background was created using Infusions by PaperArtsy. Again, I had sprayed the entire paper with water and then dropped my pigment on it and let the water do the work for me. I just kind of let it go. And now I'm just drying them. Okay. Everything feels dry. Oops, I still see some wet spots here. Yes, the infusions are a pigment powder. They're a pigment powder, so they do need water. There's different ways of using them. I use them as watercolors, so you can take these, if you have a watercolor palette, put in a bit of the powder, put in a little bit of water, and then you can make a watercolor, which is really fun. You can put them on your work surface, sprinkle them, spray them with water, and do the dip technique. You can do that with them. Or you can do the spritz technique where you spritz it with water and then you drop your pigment on. You can also drop your pigment on dry paper. So you would drop your pigment on the absolutely dry paper and then spray it with water. And you get very different results depending on how you put it on. Okay, so both of my 12 by 12 backgrounds are completely dry. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to take up my trimmer and I am going to cut these down into smaller pieces. Excuse me. Oops. I don't know what dropped. Okay, so I'm going to cut these down, my 12 by 12 paper down into 4 6 by 6. So let me just put that in there. I've also used the infusions to tint. You can use it to tint gesso. You can use it to tint texture paste. It's really great for tinting, I find, and I've used it for that as well. Okay, so again, we're going to cut these down into 4 pieces. Perfect. Okay, so that is layer 1. So we've got those 4 with kind of a blue-green background. And we've got these ones with an infusion backgrounds of reds and pinks and oranges. So you can see the two different backgrounds that we have there. Okay, so I'm going to set these up there and I'm going to grab out, I'm actually going to put away my distressed watercolor pencils and my infusions I put away. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to move on to the next step, which is using inks and paints. No, sorry, inks and stencils and some stamps. Now, in my description, I said, you know, have a script stencil or some mark making stamps. And some people don't know what mark making stamps is, so I'll just explain that to you. So these two stamp sets from PaperArtsy, Tracy Scott, and I'm sorry, I don't know if these are in stock. I should have checked. I didn't have time. These are great because you do get a lot of stamps in them. And they're different. Like I've got dots, I've got X's, I've got script, I've got bold letters, bold numbers, I've got some borders, I've got some crosshatch, I've got some whatever those are. Here's another one, again, dots, scribbling, X's, lines, like coffee stain marks, circles. I love stamps like this. So whenever I see a great stamp set like this, I buy them. Another one I like to use is the Stamperia. So the mixed media stamps from Stamperia, love those. I'm going to be using this one. Now, this is a full stamp, but I'm not going to be using the full stamp. I'm going to only be using partial of it. So I'm going to set that aside. This is a new one that we got from All in Create. Now, I do know that this one is sold out, but I will be bringing it back in. So you can see it's a little stamp. It's just a little bit bigger than my hand. So what, maybe 3x4. It's got some scripty on there. It's got some scribbles. It's got some typing. Love that. I've used that one a lot. And then this one as well. So this one has got a great script stamp in it. And that one's from PaperArtsy as well. I probably have like 10 script stamps. Do I need more script stamps? No. Do I buy every single one that I see? Yes. Yes, I do. And then I've got a few stencils. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all from All in Create. If you're wanting to know the names, this one is called Totally Dotty. There you go. Love that one. Use that one on my samples here so you can see Totally Dotty through there. This one is called Creatively Crossed. I'm not sure if this one is in stock, but we will be carrying these in regular stock. So Creatively Crossed. And again, I use this one on one of the samples. You can see that one here. Creatively Crossed. One that I haven't used actually is this one. And this one is Crescents. Okay, Glenn, what are you needing? What is the difference between the red rubber stamps and the clear acrylic? Thickness, I guess. The red rubber stamps are a bit thicker than the clear acrylic. That's really the only, yeah. Okay, so this one is the Crescents. Haven't used that one, so I grabbed that one out. And then this is a new one. We just got this one on last week. And this one is called, just a second. Let me grab out the thing because I haven't, there it is. This one is called Rota Vitae, and it's number 49. So, you know, I love a good mandala. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, yes, need that in my life. So I've got a few stencils. I've also got this. Now, when I'm choosing my stencils, what I try and do is especially when I'm making backgrounds, is I try to find one with small images, some with a little more open, like this. You can see this one. This one is a studio light one. This one is called Lovely Florals. It's mindful moodling. I don't know what that means. So I always look for something with something with wide open spaces, curves and straight lines. Those are what I look for. I don't tend to use everything with circles. I try and use some things with circles, with a straight line, with a script. I did find these two. This one is kind of the best of both worlds. This one is a PaperArtsy one, and it is, sorry, I'm trying to read it there, PS244, and we do have this one in stock. I like this one because it circles and straight lines, kind of the best of both worlds. And this one from Jofi, which again, we have this one in stock. I don't even know if I've used this one. I don't think I've used this one. So yeah, we're going to fix that tonight because, you know, I can't get enough of the circles. So this one will be a great one to use with the Creatively Crossed. Okay. So I've got a selection of stamps, a selection of stencils. I have got my Gina K Designs Amalgam ink, which I'm going to use to stamp. And I have some inks. I have got oxides and I have my distress inks that I'm going to be using. Okay, so let's get started. Let's get started. Now this is where, oops, let's bring this back in. Okay, let's start with one of these. So this is the one with the distressed watercolor pencils, the shavings that I put on the water. So you can see the background, greens and blues. There is some purple in there. It's a little bit harder to see, but it's there. And if you're wondering if the shavings are still there, I can feel them a little bit. I could probably add more water and get a little bit more movement to them, but I'm just going to leave it. Okay, so I tend to, when I do my background, so I've got blues and yellows on this one. I either stick with the blues and yellows or I go completely across the board to the opposite side of the color wheel. Okay. For our viewers, why do you prefer the Amalgam ink? Why do I prefer the Amalgam ink? Because it's good. It is a permanent ink. It's good if you're using wet media. It's also good for Copics or an alcohol ink. It's good because it won't move. My next favorite one probably is the Memento. Would be my next favorite one. But I also have had really good success with the archival inks. And I have the archival black soot. I just don't see it at the moment. So the archival black soot I also love. So anything that is permanent with water I tend to use. But Gina K is my favorite. So yeah. Now, I will share with you. See those? I love those. These are the waffle flower ink holders. And they're off screen, but I do use them because I can ink up my my brush and they won't move. So yeah, waffle flower ink holders. Love them. They're off camera though. You can't see them. Okay, great question. Going to do that. Okay, now that I move my camera, it's kind of all wonky again. There we go. Okay, so if I go back to my originals, so you can see here, this was the one with the blue background, and I stayed with colors on the same side as the color wheel. So I stayed with the blues and greens to do layers on top of the blue. So there you go. The other blue backgrounds you can see here, here's a blue background. I did use green and I used orange, which I love together. So very different. This one here, I use reds and oranges. So it just depends on what you want to do. And then this one, probably my least favorite one on that blue background. I use red and yellow and pinks on top of that with the black as well. Probably my least favorite one out of all of them. I still like it, but Okay, so I've got this. I'm going to bring in, I'm going to use this. So this is, and just give me a second. I want to switch to a different, I'm going to bring up my Ranger Silicone Medium Matte here. I like this because it has a sticky surface, not sticky, but my paper won't move when it's on it. So I love the silicone matte. Okay, so I'm going to bring this on. Now, I have a lot of people ask me, I love stencils. And maybe I've said it a couple of times. I love stencils because I can get so many uses out of them. Like a stencil may cost me $8, $9, $10, $12, $15, but I have stencils that I've probably had for, 10, 12, 15 years, and I'm still using them because I still love them. Okay, so here we go. I'm actually going to use squeeze lemonade, but I don't know if I want to use an oxide because the oxides tend to be a little chalky, which, don't get me wrong, I like, but just give me a second. I'm going to grab my Distress ink instead. And they're right beside me, so it shouldn't take me too long to find them. Unfortunately, these are not in alphabetical order, and I need to search. Give me 1 second. Squeeze lemonade, where are you? Can't find it, so I'm going to go to Scattered Straw. Here we go. I'm going to use Scattered Straw Distress ink. Put in my ink pad holder. I'm going to use one of my brushes. Now, I'm not going to use the entire stencil. Do you like this matte better than Tim Holtz Grippy Matte? I do because of the size. I do, yeah. The Tim Holtz Grippy Matte that I got, I ended up cutting into pieces because I didn't use it whole. So I ended up cutting it into pieces. Okay, so you can see what I did is I started in this corner, went down to this corner, kind of in a really loose kind of S, I guess, is what I would say. Now I am going over my stencil quite lightly. I'm not like pressing down because I don't want my stencil to move. So I am doing it quite lightly. Oh, that's nice. Oh, I love that. I'm going to turn around just because I'm left-handed and it just makes me feel better when I turn it. So I'm also going to turn my stencils. So the original part I used was here. I'm actually just going to turn it this way because I love this look through here. Again, I'm going to use this stencil. I'm going to bring it because I like this in the corner. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm just going to come into the center. I just want to, there we go. And just lightly bring that down. Oops. There we go. Oh, I love it already. Love it. Okay, so I'm done with this stencil. I'm just going to set aside. We might bring a dip back for one of the other ones. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in something a bit smaller. Let's bring in, this one is the Creatively Crossed from All in Create. I'm going to put that down. I'm going to use a different color. This time, let's use Abandoned Coral. So I'm going to put that in my Waffle Flower matte, my Waffle Flower ink pad holder, I mean. Going to grab another clean blending brush, grab up some color, and I'm going to come in here. Ooh, loving that. I see I don't have much in here, so I'm going to come over and I'm going to add some of these smaller X's. Let's do this. Not re-inking because I don't want it as dark. I just want it to kind of start fading out. So you can see there, this was the original color, didn't re-ink, just kept brushing, and look how much lighter it looks. So cool. Okay, I love this area, but I am going to add in a few of these X's just down there just to kind of fill that in. Love, see, did not add any more ink. I'm just going with the original ink that I had. Now I have this big kind of the bottom of the X here. It seems kind of bold and it seems kind of on its own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to balance it out by adding it down here just to kind of balance it out just a little bit, just so it doesn't seem like that X is just kind of on its own. Oh, see, I love that. Yeah. Okay, now I like the two, but I feel like I need to add a third. So I'm going to use one of these kind of mid-size ones. and I'm just going to go over top there. Again, I only added ink to my brush once, and I'm just going to keep going. Okay, so that to me is great. You can see I've created a triangle. Triangles are always very pleasing, and they're sitting on the sides of my 6x6. So it kind of balances it out, right? So look at that. That's gorgeous. For me, stenciling is done. That's it. The stenciling is done on that one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in. I'm going to take this stamp. I've never actually put this stamp on a block before. I've only ever taken the paper, this off, and used it like this. So I'm going to bring in my Tina K ink. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to just put that stamp on there, and I'm going to come in. I'm only going to ink that stamp once. I don't want a whole bunch of ones that look like this. I want some lighter, some darker, some along the edge. I'll turn that stamp around because I've got ink down there. Perfect. Okay. So for me, that one is done. I'm loving that one. Great. Hey, that's a great background. It's a great 6x6. Love that. Make a great card background. This one would also be great if I wanted to take like a circle punch and do like some circle punches out of it using my art journal. That would be really cool too. So this one I'm going to say is done. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to grab one of these now. So the other color of backgrounds that I did. Okay. So let me set that aside. Let's use, what do I want to use? Julia, get your poop in a group. Okay, I'm going to use this one. This is the Rota Vitae stencil that we just got in from All in Create. It's not new to All in Create. It's new to us. And I love mandalas. I love drawing them. I love looking at them. They just give me such joy. I just love them. Okay, this time I'm going to use my Distress Oxide Squeeze Lemonade. Okay, I'm going to come back with my blending brush. Now, if you don't have blending brushes, don't worry. You can use a blending tool, the Tim Holtz blending tool. Those work absolutely fine as well. So I'm just going to add that mandala there. Very subtle. As you can see, very subtle, but it adds to the background. Sometimes you don't need something to jump out at you. You don't need it like in your face all the time. Sometimes just adding a bit of color just to break up that background is all you need. Okay, that's great. So I've done opposite sides here. I'm going to add a third, but this time I'm just going to add in a little bit of that mandala over here. I like working in threes. Threes give me, I just love it. I just love working in threes. So it might be hard for you to see, but stenciling here, here, and here, very light, very kind of subtle, but it's there. I'm going to set this aside for right now. You may see that I'm leaving the ink on there, and there is a reason for that because I'm going to use that ink later for a different technique. So maybe you're thinking, oh my gosh, she's not wiping her stencils. I'm getting anxiety. Just relax. It's all right. It's going to be all fine. It's going to be fine. Just relax. All right. I think I'm going to use a green next. I don't know if I'm going to use Twisted Citron. I think I want to use a Distress ink instead. So give me a moment. Let me get my greens here. What do I want to use? So many colors. Okay, well, this is the first one I saw. So I'm going to use Twisted Citron ink. I'm going to put that in my ink holder here, my pad holder. Let me grab my brush for my green inks. Okay, so I've got my stenciling here. I'm going to add a bit more stenciling. Okay. I'm going to come back to the Distress Oxide Twisted Citron. I know I just used the Distress ink, but I'm going to use the Citron one just in a few other places, just kind of on that outer of what I just did. Okay, so I've added some green and some yellow to that. Okay, now what I'm going to do, again, leaving the ink on, I'm going to come and use the Stamperia Mixed Media stamp on this one. So this one, I don't know if we still have this one, but this one is called Mechanism. And this is one from Antonis Zanadakis from Stamperia Mixed Media Stamps. And you may notice that these ones are not a cling stamp. That is just a foam on it. So it is meant to be held or to be put down and inked like this. It's not meant to go on a stamp platform or on a block. I tend to hold them. That's how I like to do it. So I'm actually just going to ink up just this middle part. I'm not inking up the entire thing. Okay, so you can see I'm not using the entire stamp. That is very cool. And I'm not re-inking it. No, I'm just using the ink that's on there. So I've added some inking. That's very cool. Love that. I'm going to set that aside. Now, before I move on, I'm just going to wipe up that amalgam ink off my mat before it dries. Okay, I'm thinking, what else do I want to do on here? I feel like it needs something else, something a little bit more bold. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my Gina K amalgam ink. I have a blending brush that I have dedicated to the permanent black inks, archivals, amalgams. And this is the only thing I ever use it for. So I never wash this because I would never get the black out of it anyways. So I'm going to use, like I said, I've got a dedicated brush to my black permanent inks. I also have a dedicated brush for Versamark ink because sometimes I like to put Versamark ink through a stencil. So I have two dedicated brushes, one for Versamark and one for black. Okay, so I'm going to take that. I guess I need to pick out a stencil first. Let's use Totally Dotty. I'm just going to add some of these small circles in, because I don't want the black to be too bold. I don't want it to be like blah in your face. So I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to add in just some of those dots. Maybe I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add in some that are a little bit bigger. Yeah, I'm liking that. Starting to come together. Julia's starting to be happy. Again, I only ink this up once. Oh, there we go. So there's a lot of layers going on there. I've got the background, I've got some stenciling, I've got some stamping, and now I've got some more stenciling on top. That one is cool. Not sure if it's done, but I am going to set it aside for right now. I might come back to it and be like, oh yeah, that's not done yet. Okay, so if I'm using an amalgam ink or a permanent ink on my stencils, I always wipe it right away. Because I don't want that ink drying on there. There we go. Okay, so that's two done. Let's go back to a blue and a green one and do something a little bit different. I'm going to come in with, let's do this. Okay, so this one is the, give me a second, Crush on Crescents. Crush on Crescents. Okay, so this one I do want a bolder color than what, do I want a bolder color? Julia, think, what do you want? Oh my gosh, okay, too many inks. Actually, let's use Squeeze Lemonade, Distress ink. Give me a moment. I'm going to put away some of my brushes here because they're starting to get a little out of control. So let me put them back in my holder. Okay. So this is using Distress Oxide Squeeze Lemonade. So the oxides, because they have a pigment in them, tend to be a little bit more opaque than the Distress inks. The Distress inks will be a bit more translucent because they are a dye ink. Oh my, I am loving that one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that stencil back on top, just like that. I'm going to grab another stencil. Hang on. Do I want to do this one? Sure, let's do this one. So I'm going to leave this stencil on. I'm actually going to put another stencil on top. And this time I'm going to use saltwater taffy. Saltwater taffy. So let me grab my pink brush. And now I am going to go over top. I'm holding both stencils down. Oops. Oh, yes. Look at that. Oh, that's fun. Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh. See, I get excited by my own crafting too. Okay. So there's that. Now, what do I want to do for a stamp? I'm going to use a stamp this time. So I'm going to use one of my mark making stamps. This one is this one here. So it's kind of scribbly. You know what? No, changed my mind. Saw another stamp. I think I'm going to go with that. I've got a lot of curved lines on here. I've got the curves of the crescent. I've got the curves of the circles. So now I'm going to add in something with straight lines. That one there. So I am going to use... I'm actually going to go not with the black ink. I'm going to go with the Distress Oxide. Stencilception. Yes. Stencils on stencils on stencils. Okay. So I'm stamping that. And now I'm going to add in some stamping over top of the crescents. Oh my gosh. Are you loving this? I am so loving that. Look at how cool that looks. Ooh, I love it. I'm already looking forward to next week when I can take these and like elevate them with another layer. Okay. Now let me think. What else do I want to do? You know, I'm liking this one the way it is. Oh, why is that so bright? There we go. I am loving this one the way it is. I'm not even going to add any black stamping to it because I feel like it would be too much. So this one I'm going to leave. I don't even mind this white space. That would be a great place to maybe add in some like a title or something. So I'm going to leave that one. That one's going to stay. So let's go back to this. Now, I don't necessarily have to do stenciling on it. You could. I could do that. I'm actually going to use this script stamp from PaperArtsy. It's this one here, so it's a bit larger. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my Amalgam ink, add some ink on there. I'm going to come over. I think I might be holding the stamp upside down, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to stamp them any which way I want anyhow. Now, when I tend to do stamping like this, I tend to do up and down. I don't do angles. Some of you like doing angles, and that's fine. I just don't. I like having kind of the linear look to it. But hey, if you like doing things on angles, you know, whatever, you go, you do you. Okay, I'm liking that. Okay, so this time, instead of doing stenciling first, I did stamping first. Okay, there we go. So we've got that done. Now, what I think I might do is I'm going to come back in with this one. Now it's got the ink on it. Remember the ink? Yeah, fabulous, right? So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to grab my water bottle. I'm going to spray this, and then I'm going to lay the wet side down on here. Now, the infusion inks, the infusion powders are still water reactive. Even though I dried them, still water reactive. So we're going to get a reaction. Okay. Now, before I do that, I am just going to hit this with a bit of heat because I want to make sure that that amalgam ink is dry and it's not going to move on me. So let me just hit that with just a blast of heat for just a couple of seconds. Okay, so off camera, I'm going to bring this over behind me and I'm going to spray it, I don't know, 2 or 3 spritzes of my water. So let me do that. Okay, there you go. So just so you know, I love this water bottle so much. I love it. It actually spends more time in my bathroom than it does in my craft room. I actually use it on my hair because I have short hair. So when I wake up in the morning, my hair tends to be a little wild. So I don't wash my hair every day, so I do spray it. Okay, so this is the wet side of the stencil. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to lay that down, and I just realized that I do not have any paper towel up here. I must have used up all my paper towel. Hey, Glenn, if you're listening, can you bring me some paper towel? Okay. So we're going to see what happens here. We're going to see what happens. I'm just running my hand along that stencil where the water is. I can see it moving under there. It didn't really, well, it did. It did leave an impression in there. It might be hard for you to see on there, but I can definitely see where it's changed. Thank you.
I wasn't listening.
I have paper towel. Okay, so it did react with the infusions, and I don't know if you can see it, but you can see probably once I dry it, it'll probably show up a little bit more. Now that I have paper towel. Okay, I'm going to spray that just a little bit more. So what I'm trying to do is use the water reactive qualities of the infusions just to lift some color off. This one does take a little bit more patience, so you kind of have to press it to give it a chance to react. There we go. That gave us a bit more reaction to it. Oh yeah, that's nice. Okay, before I move this, I need to wipe this ink off. Okay, setting that aside. Let's give this a dry. Okay, so using the stencil that way, a bit more subtle, but you can see where it has left impressions in the infusions. Okay, so before I move on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the exact same stencil. Now it is still a little damp, so give me a minute to just dry that off. There we go. Okay, so let's bring this in, and I'm just looking. I love what it's done down this side, and I love what it's done down here. So I'm going to do a little bit of stenciling just to add in some of these smaller crescents. I'm just going to add them up in this area here. Now I need to pick a color that you're going to be able to see. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my black. There we go. Yes, there we go. Just a little bit here. Ooh, that's fun. That is fun. I like that one. Okay, there you go. So that was what? One. We've done 4 backgrounds. I've got 4 to go. Okay. We'll wipe up that Gina K ink again off my work surface. Let's go back to a blue one. Okay, so this one here, you can see it has some of that, I don't know what it was, saltwater taffy maybe? Maybe. So what I'm going to do with this one, it has ink on it, but I'm going to come in, I'm actually going to add a bit more of the saltwater taffy. And I'm going to come in with festive berries. There we go. Okay, let's wipe that up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this here. I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to spray this with water. Okay, there we go. So I've added water to my inks here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over on to that background. Just going to use my paper towel just to hold that on there. Oh yeah, look at that. That is a great background. Oh my gosh, sometimes I just surprise myself. Okay, now before, I'm just going to set this one aside just a moment. It's really wet, so I'm just going to set it there. I still have lots of water on this one. Still have lots of water and ink, so I'm just going to use it on this. I don't know if it'll show up very much because it's kind of the same color, but I just want to use that. Okay, it did. You can see it in there. I'm going to set that one aside. I'm going to come back to that one in a minute. Let me wipe my stamp up. So that's another way of using a stencil, is adding your ink to the stencil, adding water to it, and then putting it down on your project. So you get the negative instead of the positive. Okay, let me bring this one back in. Okay, I'm just going to dry this one a little bit, but look how cool that is. I really love that one. If I want to do anything else to that one, to be honest with you. I kind of like it the way it is. Sorry, I keep going off camera. I kind of like it the way it is. I might do something else with it. I'm just going to set it aside for right now. I'm going to think about that one a little bit. This is the one where I also did the same stencil. It had a bit of water and ink on it, so it has reacted with those infusions again. Okay, I'm going to come in with this stencil. So I love, oops, there we are. I love the, excuse me, let me just take a drink of water here. There we go. Okay, so I've used the mandala part quite a bit tonight, but I think I want to start using this side. I'm really liking that. So I'm going to come in and I want to use, here we go. Do I want to use prize ribbon? I want to use something a little bit darker. I'm going to use prize ribbon. By the end of the night, I'm going to have all of my distress oxides out here. I just know it. Okay, let's grab a clean brush. Going to go down that entire side. Oh, yes. Okay, I really love the stars. So I'm actually going to concentrate on using those more. I'm not going to re-ink my brush. I'm just going to keep going. Maybe add a little bit more ink there. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. Fun stuff. Now, there is a couple of larger stars here, so I am going to use those as well. Here we go. And let's add those bigger ones over in this area. I'm loving the stars, so I'm just going to keep adding stars to this one. This is a great stencil, by the way. That is fun, fun, fun. Let's just keep adding. Okay, there we go. I feel like I need something down there. I don't know. Do you know what? Because I love that mandala. Yep, that did it. There we go. I'm loving that now. Love, 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 love. That is going to be great for next week to add a new background onto. Okay, I've got two more. Let me just wipe this up. What is the name? Oh, what is the name of this stencil? It is, I have the packaging here. Give me a second. It's from All in Create, number 49, and they call it Rota Vitae. So it's an All in Create. We just got it last week. So if you go under last week's new arrivals for All in Create, you'll see this one. I think it was the only stencil we got in new last week. Okay. Now, again, because I cannot waste ink and because I love that color so much, I'm actually going to use this on this background here. So again, taking my spray bottle off camera. Just going to add some ink to it. Or sorry, add some water to it. Okay, so that's the wet side. I am going to put it here. There we go. Just going to hold that on there for just a second. Oh, look how fun that is. Okay, that is fun. I am loving that. Where did my baby wipe go? Let me just set that to the side. Okay, let me just wipe that stencil up really quick. There we go. again, you know, you look at it and you're like, I don't know if I want to add anything to that, but I think I will. I think I'm going to add some stamping. Hi, Dawn. Okay, so I'm just going to take, where did it go? Because now I'm dealing with the crafter math on my work surface here. So things have started going sideways for me. Trying to find my little stamp. Always the little one is the hardest to find. Oh, and the one right underneath my nose. Okay. So I'm just going to take that stamp. Just going to add in not too much, just a little bit. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to say that one is done. And I have one more. And this one I think I'm just going to stick with Totally Dotty because it's one of my favorites. Love it. Peacock Feather? Yes. Okay, I'm going to do Peacock Feather. Oh, that's fun. Okay, I'm going to use a different part of the stencil. I'm not going to re-ink my brush. I'm just going to add just a lighter bit up there and just some little dots down here. That's fun. That is fun. It's like now I'm trying to figure out what I did. Here we go. Okay, I'm just going to line my stencil up because what I want to do is I want to come in with, I think I'm going to come in with this stamp again. Oops. I'm going to add ink to it. Line that stencil up. I'm just going to ink it again. Line it up with a different part of my stencil. And there I've added some stamping in those circles. Don't know if you can see that or not, but there you go. Okay, so I'm going to call that one done as well. Now just hang on because I am going to go through, let's go through all 8 backgrounds I've made in a little over an hour. And then if you're playing along and you're making some backgrounds as well, what I want you to do is keep some of those backgrounds and bring them back next week, because next week I'm going to take these backgrounds. So let me show you what we made. So there's one. Love that. Here's another one. Have to say, I think I might like this one. I think that one's my favorite. And it's the one that I probably did the least with. But again, I'm going to be coming back next week and I'm going to be choosing probably 2 or 3 of my favorites. And we're going to be doing another layer on top of these. So today it was all about creating the backgrounds, and I created these using infusions for the orange and yellow backgrounds. And then on the lighter backgrounds, this was using shavings from the Distress Watercolor pencils. Here's another one. There's that one. That one was fun. Yeah, loving that one. Here's this one. And then here's way back at the beginning. And this is the first one I did. So there's the ones I created tonight. And then I have this whole stack. These are the ones that I created as my samples for tonight. So I actually have 16 backgrounds to work with for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, love them. Yeah, so much fun. Yeah, so like you can see, they're all very different color combinations. Like just they're all so different, but I love them all. So next week, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking probably 2 or 3 of these backgrounds and going to, sorry, I'm going to move that out of the way so it's not in front of my face. I'm going to be taking 2 or 3 of these backgrounds, and we're going to be doing another layer on top. Probably going to be using stencils again. We're definitely going to be using some texture pastes. Probably going to have maybe a brayer, so you might want to have that on hand. But when I create the event for next week, I will put in there some things that you may want to have. So yeah, if you've been following along, if you've been playing along with me tonight, keep your backgrounds that you created, or maybe you haven't created. You have a week to get some created, and then choose your favorites. And then we'll be doing another technique on top of these. And who knows, maybe we'll create cards, maybe we'll do some tags, maybe we'll just add something to an art journal. So there you go. That is it for me. Thank you so much for joining me for about the last hour and 20 minutes. That was fun. I hope you've had fun. I hope you learned some techniques. Are your fingers inky like mine are? I hope they are. So have a great evening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed tonight's Monday Night Live, and I'll be back next week where we will continue the journey of using our backgrounds. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye-bye.